So formality, it's about 9:08 on May 12th. What was that? I don't know who was speaking and I didn't hear it. But we'll call the roll. Good morning. John DeWolf.
Here.
DeAndrea here. Bob Doan.
Here.
Patty Maroney.
Here.
Al Regina. Good morning, Al.
He's muted, I think.
He is muted. You're muted, Al.
Okay,
Good morning.
here.
Good morning.
Sorry about
And
that.
Susan Mattern. Good morning, Susan.
Here. Good morning.
So, due to the agenda items that we have, I thought that this morning we would go through the minutes and recognition of the surveyor applicants who had passed the exam. And while we have Janita, we'll deal with the monthly complaint report. There were two items, one surveying and one engineering. You want to give a summary for us, Janita?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. For the time frame, March 1st, 2026 through April 30th of 2026, the department closed two complaints that had been investigated. One was on land surveying, the other was in engineering. The land surveyor is the first file, and it was found to be a civil matter dispute of facts. My investigator closed it. There were no violations. And in the anonymous one on the engineering firm, it was insufficient evidence and no evidence to support the allegations made. That does happen with the anonymous complaints.
Anonymous. Okay.
Yeah. And then I will say this, we seem to have a little trend happening right now across all boards that my occupational professional unit handles. I'll use the land surveyor. It's not this file in particular, but when we close a file, the complainant, when there is one, receives a letter that says, here's the responses from the respondent. There were no violations. It's a civil matter. You have to go to court. And a lot of times the complainant doesn't like what we're saying, and then we'll run to the governor's office, our commissioner's office, their legislator's office, or the attorney general's office to try to make us reopen the file to get them a new survey or money, or to have the contractor do extra work or whatever it is. So it seems in the past month that I have been responding to outside entities on what we have done with a file and that it was rightly closed and the consumer does have to go to court. DCP cannot order an engineer from your board or one of your land surveyors to go out to Mrs. Smith's house and do an engineering report for them, or do a land survey, do a free land surveying for them because they didn't like what, and sometimes it's not them doing the hiring, it's the neighbor who's hired, and they will want us to undo the neighbor's land surveying report and surveying and move the stakes. So just the sign of the times.
Well, I guess it all comes down to money and staying power, but what you're saying is you do the the thorough investigation, you come to a conclusion, it's made, and then they appeal it. So
yeah,
or they try to appeal it, and there's no procedure legally or lawfully, whatever the word might be, to do that.
No, when we say it's a civil matter, it's because we have no jurisdiction to order a
Correct.
land surveyor or an engineer give somebody money or do
Correct.
something. You
Right.
know, if there were violations, there would be a report written and it would go to legal and then it would be presented to your board for administrative action.
Right,
So,
I can understand what you're saying. An individual makes a complaint because surveyor A did work for neighbor one. They didn't like the results, and then they don't want to hire their own surveyor to either confirm or refute, and therefore they want somebody else to do their work. Can't be done.
Yes.
We're not going to do it. All right,
No.
understood.
Thank you for handling that with such professionalism.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right.
we-
Any
we
other
do- we
business in
do
that
try.
regard, Janita?
No, I think we're on a good track. And with that, I'm going to thank you all for letting me go first. And I'm going to wish you all a happy Memorial Day. And I hope it doesn't rain at the Cape on your niece's wedding, sir.
Yeah. All right. Thank
Same
you.
to you.
You're
Same to
welcome.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, the next item on our regular agenda is the list of land surveyors that passed the exam. That was quite a good list there.
Yes, 6 from
Um,
Connecticut.
Yep, we had what, 6 from Connecticut. Good. Okay, so that's just our informational aspect. Any comments or additions? If not, then I would suggest we move into a review of the minutes for our last meeting of April, which was again a pretty thorough review of what we did and accomplished. And I like the format of, a summary of all the actions taken. And it helps us, keep track of where we had our denials or approvals. But primarily I was focusing on the denials and reviewing them. I didn't see any inconsistencies with my recollection. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to the minutes from April 21st? If not, is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
I'll second
Thank you,
it.
Bob.
I'll second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor of the motion to accept the minutes from April 21st as presented, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And I don't think we had any other land surveying issues. Oh, wait. No, that's right. No, we don't. If everybody is in agreement, then thank you, Susan, for joining. And
Well, thank
may
you
go
for
back to
letting
work.
me be here and have a wonderful day, everyone, and happy Memorial Day to you.
Okay, thank you.
All
Happy
right, you take
Memorial Day,
care.
Susan.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
month.
You too.
So that brings us to our regular agenda on page 2, which is starts off with a list of the candidates who passed the NCEES exams for the month of April. Several civils and a couple of environmental, again, for information purposes. And then we had on page 3, a list of the newly licensed model law class 4 applicants. This month, we only had a total of 34, which is well below our monthly average. There's not much significance to that. I'm just always curious as to how many applicants have applied to Connecticut. So this month it was only 34. And if there's no comments or additions on that aspect, I'll move on to page 4 of our regular agenda, which was to consider the 5 applicants for Class 1 Credit Part 1. Rob Lewandowski was unable to attend, but he did provide his recommendations after his review, and I have those. I believe that there was a cross on 2 applicants. Rob actually reviewed Nana Doom. Which was under Bob.
Yeah.
So Bob, did you do Yang or Or did you do Mamadou also?
I did, I did Maine was the one I got.
Because
which
I
was-
did con. I
All
did
right.
con, not.
We're gonna
not
go
Maine.
down the list and see who did whom, okay?
Okay.
Let me
Makes
start then
sense.
with mine. And
Okay, that was really bad. What did I do?
yeah, what were you drinking that day, Jane? Come on, come clean, let's go.
You're just trying,
Anyway.
you're just trying to keep them awake, Jane.
Yeah.
I thought it was only gonna be Rob and Bob, but anyway. Well, you did a good
will
job
need-
getting the names on there. And then,
I do need someone to take a look at Richards while we'll see who's left, because since he's not here, I didn't hear from him. So he's had a few, he's got, I think, just 4 applications to look at.
or did somebody end up with con?
I did con.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, let's see how we do when we go down the list. Anyway, hold on one second. I just got to get one more thing here. What I was going to kid Jane on this morning, I said was that when we do the spreadsheet, which is very helpful, it just makes it, quicker for us. I said, but some of these names can't fit in that little box you give us. So you can cut down on the endorses and give us the last name a little wider. Anyway, that's just kind of a funny observation. So moving back to page 4 for our class 1 credit part 1, I did review Dorsey. And Dorsey is a Yukon grad, May 10, works for DOT. My recommendation is to approve. So that's my motion to approve Eric Dorsey, class 1 credit part 1. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. So Mr. Dorsey is done. And then Maine, Adida, Maine. John, did you review that one?
I
No,
did.
I did not.
Okay,
I did
Bob
not
did
get-
it, okay?
I did Adita Main. She has a degree from India, and it's missing 3 hours of math and science, but it's, as usual, it's very strong in engineering and other subjects. And she has 5 years experience. And her FE was from Indiana, and I make a motion to approve Adita Main.
There's a second?
Second.
Thank you, Al. Any further discussion? It's good that she got her EIT in Indiana
It's
with her
actually-
it's her India degree. It's not good. It's
Yes,
good.
I know. But it's actually a he.
Oh, okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve Adida Maine, say
Yeah, I
aye.
think that's what it is.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Rob Lewandowski reviewed. Kinagato Nanadum. Kinagato Nanadum. He's in water resources engineering. He got a master's from Utah State. 2 masters actually from Utah State. He's got all of his endorsements. He's got 35 years of experience, and his foreign degree was evaluated. He had general education, a couple of credits missing, and therefore, with all of his experience and education, Rob recommended approval. So is there a motion to accept his recommendation?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Bob. All those in favor of approving Nanadum for class 1 credit part 1, which is an interesting, plenty of experience in taking the exam. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing on that, motion carries. So that takes care of that. Then the next applicant was Wei Yang. Reviewed by, who had Yang? John, you had it, John?
No, I didn't. I had Con.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, well,
Oh, it
Yang.
looks like Richard did. Richard had them.
Okay,
So I don't know if somebody would be willing to take a quick look at it, so.
Yeah, I'll take a quick look at it, Jane, if you want to send it over to me.
Okay, thank you.
okay, we'll move on to Kamruzaman Khan that John DeWolf reviewed.
He has a Bachelor of Science in Leather Engineering.
In what?
Leather?
Leather, and it's from Bangladesh.
Wow.
There is no deficiencies, and if you look at the list of courses, he actually has 7 credits of finishes. So it is truly a leather engineering degree. However,
Wow.
he also has a doctorate from Vermont in civil and environmental engineering with 8 courses, and he has 1 year, 10 months of actual experience plus a postdoc, so he has more than 2 years, and so he meets the requirements. So I move approval of Con for Class 1 credit Part 1.
Thank you, John.
I'll second it.
Al? Thanks, Al. So you never know what you're gonna see when you wake up in
All
the
I
morning.
Right.
picture is belts and pulleys and cables and water power and,
He has a lot of a variety of courses, industrial engineering, polymer science, production planning, and all
Wow.
kinds of stuff along that line, but he does meet the requirements.
Wow, that's neat.
All those in favor of the motion to approve, Mr. Khan, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing on that, motion carries. Did you get a chance to look at Yang, Bob?
Oops, I just got it, Tony.
Okay, all right. We'll
I haven't
come back.
opened it up yet.
We'll come back. Okay, moving on then to our Class 4 applicants. I reviewed the first 2, Mustafa Ahmad. At a Suez University Petrochemical Engineering, the evaluation was very good. There was no deficiencies. There's 170 credits. Process engineering, gas and petroleum since July of 18. And he also has a background in chemical engineering. My recommendation or my motion is to approve Mustafa Ahmad. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, John. Pretty clear cut application. All those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And Paul Archibald was the next applicant for Class 4 reciprocity degree from Penn State in '88, licensed in Pennsylvania, concentration in traffic and engineering since '89, right after school. So all good experience, all good endorsers, and a current license in Pennsylvania, good until September 27th. So again, I move to approve Paul Archibald for Class 4 reciprocity. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Al. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing on that, motion carries. And the next applicant, John DeWolf, reviewed applicants, Baron, Butt, and El Hadri.
Okay, Barron has a Bachelor's of Science in Engineering Science from Wartburg College, which I've never heard of, but an MS from Colorado State. Total of 63 hours of engineering. It looks fine, so I move approval of Barron.
All right.
I'll second it.
Second, that was Al. Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that
Okay.
motion carries.
But has a bachelor's of science from Pakistan and a master's in sustainable energy engineering from Sweden and 73 hours of credit. So it all looks fine. The only problem with Butt is there has only one license from California, which expired in March of 26. So I would move approval of Butt provided Butt has a current license.
Okay.
I'll
Is there a
So
second.
second?
I assume that means that the person will have to renew the California license before they can get the Connecticut license. Is that correct?
Ye- Yes, it would have to, you're approving it subject to current licensure. Your
Right.
motion, right? Yeah, so they would have to come in order.
Okay.
But I think it's a mere technicality. It was March. He probably filed the application 3 months ago, you know. But you can check that, right, Jane?
Yes, I can.
I have a question.
Yes,
If he
Patty?
filed when his license was current, would that have counted?
We see it frequently because of the time it takes to get the process going and they don't pay attention. So there's really no, we don't ask for them if you're to send proof when we don't know yet that it's gonna, what do you call it, expire. I suppose when we first see the application and we look at it, it's received on April 1st and it expired on March 26th, we'd say, well, you should send us proof of your verification. Here, if the experience is good, it's subject, we have been approving them subject to, and then Jane can make it an inquiry of the individual, send us your current license. I think it saves a little time for Jane.
Okay.
So there's a motion to approve, but subject to approval of subject to receipt of proof of current license. So is there a second to that motion?
Yes, I'll second it.
Thanks, Al. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve Omna Butt subject to proof of current licensure from California, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing on that, motion carries. The last applicant that John reviewed is Mohammed El Hadre for Class 4 reciprocity.
Bachelor of Science in Engineering from Alexandria University in Egypt. No deficiencies, has 88 hours of engineering. Everything looks fine, so I approve Class 4 license for El Hadri. El Hadri.
El Hadri.
Yep.
Any, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Al. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Before we lose track, Bob, you had a chance to look at Yang?
Yes, I have.
Thank you, sir. What was your
My
evaluation?
my evaluation is that he has a degree from China. His FE is from Connecticut. And he has 6.75 years of experience. And his degree is equivalent. I forgot to mention that. So I make a motion to approve Yang for Class 1 Credit Part 1.
I'll second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. So let the minutes show that it was listed as Rob Lewandowski reviewing, actually credited to Mr. Schwezak, and ultimately reviewed by Mr. Bob Doan. But we got it done. Which leads us to the next applicant for Class 4 reciprocity, which was Timothy Cavisto.
Timothy Cavisto has a degree from Queen's University in Canada. It has been deemed equivalent by NCEES review. He's currently licensed in Texas until September of 26. And he has 23 years, 7 months experience, and I make a motion to approve for Class 4 license.
I'll second.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries, which leads us to page 5, and Bob Doan reviewed Matfield and McBurnett.
Okay, I would like to take them individually, and for Elizabeth Matfield, this is the Columbia degree, John, that I talked to you about in
Okay.
engineering mechanics. And she's non-model law because they didn't recognize that as an ABET degree. And I reviewed the transcript, and she certainly has more than 48 credit hours of engineering courses. When I add in the, there's stuff like theory of plates and shells and theory of vibrations and stuff, and she does an awful lot of inspections of cranes and process and everything. Very good experience. She was also licensed in Connecticut from October 2015 to January 2017, and that has expired. So it's been 9 years. Is this a renewal of a previous license, or is it a Class 4? Will she go in and retrieve her previous number?
So no. So what happened? They changed the reinstatement policy, or actually the legal division changed the statutes, basically saying that anyone that is expired for more than 3 years is required to reapply, and they get a new number. So it's like a brand new license.
Okay. All right. She is licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. She was licensed in New York. That expired in 24. And so if we, the only other question I would have is that her degree, I think her degree, and with my conversation with you, John, I think her degree is appropriate, but do we need to get that evaluated by NCEES?
My guess would be, I would accept it.
Okay. All right, then I make a motion to approve Elizabeth Matfield for a Class 4 license.
I'll
There's
second it.
Thank you, John. Continuing the discussion, sometimes we just overlook the obvious. So an applicant who is continually licensed in another jurisdiction comes back to Connecticut, do they get a new number then also, Jane? I never thought about that.
After 3 years, they
So-
do.
Yes,
Even-
after 3 years.
Okay, regardless of continually licensed in another jurisdiction, they get a new number.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. That's a little different than a license that has lapsed in less than 3 years, and we're making certain that they're responsible for the work that they performed while actively unlicensed in Connecticut, right?
Correct.
So they would keep
Yep.
their same number in that case.
Yeah, because they have from the time they expire, they have 3 years to reinstate,
Right.
and then
within-
that's it.
Okay, so any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve Elizabeth Matfield for Class 4 reciprocity, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And Bob Doan reviewed Matthew McBurnett for Class 4 reciprocity.
Okay, Matthew McBurnett, the only reason he's not listed as a model law is because he had disciplinary action in Texas. And I tried to find out what it was. The only reference is that he had a reprimand from Texas and and this is in air quotes, unfaithful agent clause. Pursuing, and I had no idea what that meant. And so I went on to the Texas website and I read through their regulations, and I still have no idea what unfaithful agent clause is. However, they declared this reprimand and no action was taken against his license. It wasn't withdrawn. He didn't have to pay a fine. And he's licensed in Texas until December of 26, plus 12 other states. So I'm inclined to overlook the disciplinary action. He has 31 years, 1 month experience. And so I make a motion to approve Matthew McBurnett for Class 4 license.
There's a
I'll
second. Thank you, Al. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve Matthew McBurnett, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Rob Lewandowski reviewed next applicant, Michael McCarthy. Michael McCarthy has a bachelor's in engineering technology from University of Maine, a technical degree. In our regulations, he would require 7 years. Currently, he has 4 years after the degree. Therefore, the motion by Rob is to deny Michael McCarthy reciprocity at this time due to a lack of experience following the degree. So is there a motion to accept his recommendation?
So
Also
moved.
move.
All right, John, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you, Al. Any further discussion on that 4 years versus 7 technical degree? Not enough experience following the degree. So any further discussion on that aspect? If not, all those in favor of the motion to deny Michael McCarthy reciprocity at this time due to a lack of experience following the degree, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. The next applicant was Ansh Mehra, bachelor's from CUNY. He's licensed in New York. He's got 6 years of experience following the degree. The recommendation by Rob is to approve. Is there a motion to accept this recommendation?
So move.
Thank you, John. Second?
Second.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, that motion carries. And the next applicant is Farman Mia, if that's correct, or Mia Farman, one of the other. What is it, Jane? Is it correct? MD Farman Mia?
I actually did that correctly.
Well, no reason to think that you wouldn't. But the MD throws me off, and the farm, I don't know if it's Mia Farman MD or MD Farman Mia. So we have Mia, and they have a he has a degree from Bangladesh. There's a master's in civil engineering from the University of Texas. Their foreign degree was evaluated and deemed equivalent. There's experience of 4 years of 11 months following the degree. So the recommendation from Mr. Lewandowski is to approve Mia. So
I'll
is there a
second.
motion to accept his recommendation?
So moved.
Thank you, Rob.
So moved. I'll second.
Thank you, Al. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve Mia, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Now, we don't know what to do right now with Richard, his other three here for class 4. You want to send one to each of us? Jane, we should have thought about
Sure.
that.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
And while that's happening, we'll move down to our class 9 license. There were a variety of universities represented. So that's for information. Is there a motion to approve the issuance of the class 9 license for those applicants Bodor through Urso on page 5 of our regular agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Rob.
I'll second.
Thanks, Al. All those in favor of the motion to approve Bodar through Urso for class 9 license, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Let's each take a moment, whoever gets them, to do a quick look at the applicant list of Safe, Siragusa, and Youssef.
I did send all 3.
Morning, Bob. So you have to do this.
I've got Safe.
I'm all set with Yusuf.
So am I.
I'm a little slower because this guy had 2 foreign degrees. So I got one more evaluation to look at.
And you're on your cell phone, Tony.
I know, and it's kind of, and I got these reader glasses, 2.5, that's all they give me. I go to the
Yeah,
eye
that's
doctor
what-
and said, just keep buying the cheap ones.
I'm at
But
two
either
and a
way-
half right now.
All right. All looking good here. So, one thing that I'm looking for here, one more, just bear with me one more second. I have to, I'm looking for the verification of license. There we go. Nope. Oh, the second degree was from New Zealand. And he's licensed in Texas. Okay, I'm all set. All right, who had, well, Safe, I have Safe, so I'll go first. I have Mr. Khalid Safe, foreign degree evaluation, very good. No deficiencies, 139 credits, currently licensed in Texas. It's all structural engineering. Therefore, I move to approve Safe for Class 4 reciprocity. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Al. Sorry for taking a little longer there. All those in favor of the motion to approve Safe, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Stephen Siragusa.
I reviewed Siragusa, has a BS in mathematics and an MS in civil with 28 hours, missing 20 hours in the NCEES evaluation. So I move that we deny Class 4 license for Siragusa based on lack of a 4-year engineering degree.
Okay, so the first degree was what?
Mathematics.
Math. And even though we didn't get to it yet, you think that the math would not qualify as a science degree following the program?
I think math is even much less acceptable than a science degree, but he only has 28 hours by the NCEES evaluation of engineering. So
Okay.
does not have a 4-year or anywhere nearly
Right,
equivalent.
that's it. That's the key. The evaluation was nowhere near it.
He's lacking 20 hours of engineering.
Good, okay. So is there a second to the motion to deny Stephen Siragusa for reciprocity due to the lack of a qualifying or evaluated engineering curriculum? All those is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Robert. Bob? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to deny Stephen Siragusa, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Which leads us to Armia Youssef.
I reviewed Amia Youssef. He has a foreign degree from Aswan University. He has, it's not equivalent because he's missing 4 hours in general ed. He has 88 hours in engineering courses. And his disciplines are architectural, civil, electrical power, mechanical, naval architecture / marine, surveying, and structural. And so he has 9 years, 10 months good experience. He's licensed in New Jersey until April of 28. And I make a motion to a humble motion for this overachiever for for a class 4 license.
There a
I'll
second?
second.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, that motion carries.
I forget that we are our meetings are open to the public, so I should change my remarks and criticisms.
I think it was just a fair observation.
Yes.
I'm impressed all the time on some of the things that these applicants actually have accomplished.
Yeah, it's
And, you know, and things that you don't realize need to be done in engineering, you know? So
Yeah,
a lot
it's
of
incredible.
accomplishments.
Yeah.
So at this point, I would like to move into a discussion on what everybody put a lot of effort into at our last meeting and a lot of good discussion, and then two summaries that I asked Jane to distribute. Al and I kind of put down the 4 items as we recalled them, and then John and Rob put a lot of effort into embellishing them, I think. And, you know, there certainly was a consistency. One of the most important ones, in my opinion, anyway, is that we do take a look at science degree, master's in a discipline, and then experience. I think that's a class that we were always troubled with, or I was. And the two summaries that John and Rob put together, I think, are somewhat in agreement in that aspect. So I don't know if we need to codify that or become comfortable with it, but the issue is how much experience following the degree, the master's degree, in the discipline in which they are or have been practicing. And each time we talked about, well, again, I'll just go for a few more comments, but an applicant with an undergraduate science degree and a master's in engineering from an ABET accredited undergraduate program. In other words, if there's an undergraduate engineering program at a institution that's ABET accredited, and the master's is from that equivalent curriculum, then 6 years experience after the master's would be considered enough time. Is that
Tony, I think what we're really talking about is a science degree with the master's, as you say, with 48 credits of engineering. I don't think a master's degree with 30 credits and a science degree can any way be considered equivalent.
right? And you
So-
you made that very clear in your summary. 48 credits,
Right.
6 years.
Of acceptable engineering coursework.
Right, and you emphasize that also. So the 48 credits deemed equivalent by the NCEES evaluation. It's
Well, they
always,
just count credits. I think we have to look at it a little more carefully.
in what would that, in, again, in your evaluation or suggestion, you said a minimum 48 engineering credits deemed as equivalent to an ABET undergraduate program by NCEES Credential Services.
And I would add and acceptable to the board,
Okay,
because I think we need to look at just more than the total of credits. Like this case of this electrical engineering master's, the person is going back and taking undergraduate electrical engineering courses to get up to 48. That's not acceptable,
right.
in my view. Just going back and taking undergraduate courses after the master's doesn't work.
So again, emphasizing, you know, evaluate by NCAAS and acceptable to the board and has 6 years experience. And the issue there is evaluating those credits that were taken to add up to the 48, right?
Right.
Right, okay. That sound right, Bob? Al, Patty?
Yes, and I agree with John about um, not just taking NCEES carte blanche at their credit counts. Because I had one that I reviewed and the masters, he had 9 credits under a master's program. But 2 of the courses he took, he had already taken in the undergraduate program.
Right.
And he had, but in the NCEES review, they added those 9 credits from the master's program to the undergraduate, thereby giving him 6 extra credits. He had almost 60, so it was well over the 48, but I agree that we need to look at the NCEES review, particularly if it's not a 4-year ABET program.
Right, and I guess what you're saying in another way is you go and you take 30 credits of in-depth structural engineering, and then you go back and take chemistry, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add to your education.
Doesn't improve your
Right.
breadth of knowledge.
And then, we go back to the first 3 categories. It talks about the evaluation, as a class 2 applicant, which I don't think we disagree on. Are there any other comments on the summaries that John did?
No,
Oh,
and
I added that phrase in there. The accredited undergraduate program by NCEES Credential Services acceptable to the board and has 6 years of experience. So credits acceptable to the board and has 6 years on the 4th category.
Yeah. Also experience being acceptable to the board.
Yes, that's definitely in there. That's a separate paragraph.
Yeah.
So,
Can I ask a question?
yes, sir.
Where do you intend to go with this language? Is it just for the use of the board? In other words, you'll have a piece of paper there that says to you, this is a class 2, requires 6 years. This other one is a class 1 and so forth. In other words, there's extensive information that you can add if you're going to use it as a document where you're going to put in your hand. If you intend to take it anything further, like make changes to the law, then you're going to have to consolidate the language. Am I making sense?
It makes sense.
So
think
what's this use and what do you intend to do? Is this working paper for the board? If so, then I suggest you expand it to a point where, you add some of this language you're talking about here that you can't go ahead and repeat what you've taken in your undergrad and take it into grad, just to get credits, that type. You can expand all that so that it's clear that everybody's operating on the same wavelength.
Well, in that case, you still may miss something. We were trying, I thought, to come up with a continuation or a progression on our policy to recognize some very qualified individuals who made an effort to get concentration in a discipline and then practice in that discipline. And this is for the 4 years. If I can skip over while we ponder that, but I think that would be the first step. I'm not confident that we can get the statutes changed to incorporate all of these, and some of these would just go, correct me if I'm wrong, is Rachel still here? Yeah. We have statutes that enable us, and then we have regulations, right? So the regulations spell out the different classes. Am I correct in that? And therefore, these pretty much go toward improving the regulations. But I don't know that we can go in and anticipate every single class or issue that comes in. Like if you're an applicant, be aware, we're not going to give you the credit of your undergraduate if you're trying to put them in your, it's hard to even think about how to codify that, write it.
Yeah, in a statute, it'd be difficult. If you just put in a statute that 4-year approved or 4-year degree, and just add those 3 or 4 words, it doesn't encompass what you're trying to do here. Okay, this is broader. When you get into the science degrees and the technology degrees and so forth, and and I agree what you're doing, like in the technology degree, because of course in today's world you're going to get a lot more of that now. I'd prefer to have someone with a PE sitting in front of a nuclear power plant, and I know the guy's a PE and he's well qualified for the job, that he's doing, but he's going to be a tech, there's no question about it. So if you're working for a working document, then, Rob expanded it out to include classes and so forth on it.
Well,
And
Rob expanded it to recognize what our regulations currently allow. So a little bit more clarification in that. So we're not trying to get rid of those in the current regulations because the class 2 primarily deals with the technology degrees.
Right. And my comment is after you expand it to that extent, then you've got everybody that's doing the same thing and you're very consistent. And consistency is important.
Yes, that's what started this. So say that again, though. You've expanded it. We've expanded it. In what way again? If you're looking at,
you clearly put it into 4 categories.
yes,
You've got your experience. In most cases, you got your experience, depending on whether it's a master's, not master's, and the type of degree. And then I'm saying that Rob took it one step further and tied it right back to what classes they're going to fit into.
yes, okay.
That making sense, John?
I think so. Basically, we're only talking about a few cases a year at best.
If I'm not getting through to you, John, I'm in trouble.
No, but you make sense. But again, we're only talking about a few cases a year. We're talking about somebody who did the science plus the master's plus other courses in order to build it up. And there are not many of them that we see.
No.
And
true.
it's just
True, but you want to be enough detail to be consistent.
Yeah, okay. So 48 credits acceptable to the board. You want us to define that a little further is what I'm gathering.
I think Rob did, and the question is can you use his language and define it a little more? Because again, the one comment is you can't repeat undergraduate courses.
Well,
I agree.
my comment is back to that one who has a master's and now is going back and taking undergraduate courses to get it up to 48. And the undergraduate courses are clearly probably a lower level than the master's, and they're just repeating that material at an easier level. And that's the one that's the example I keep going back to.
Well, yeah.
Is there a minimum of engineering credits for the ABET accredited 4-year engineering curriculum that we accept?
Yes,
How many?
48. 48.
So it's 48 undergraduate.
That,
or
when the,
four-year degree.
when they evaluate a program for ABET accreditation, that's what they're looking for, is 48 credits of engineering.
But we're saying with the masters, if you get 48 credits, it can't be undergraduate credits.
No.
No, it
If you-
can.
if you- It can, but you can't go back and take undergraduate courses to add them to, just to get the credits added to the masters. You got to stay within the master's program. So there's consistency and you're not repeating.
Patty, the way I would look at it is if the program for the Masters in Structural Engineering, for example, is 30 credits in this particular university and they need to make up 48, the board might consider that if he went back and took soil mechanics, that might be a credit that could be done. But if he went
Right.
back and went to take a chemistry course or a biology course, or some kind of a science course, we'd say that you're just making up credits. That's not sufficient. So the board should have some say in that evaluation. And what Bob Doan pointed out was that in one evaluation, they went back to the undergraduate program and doubled up on a course that was already included in 30. We had another case a couple of months ago where it was a community college and they took those credits and put them into the masters and then, made them equivalent to 48. So the board should have a chance to evaluate that and look at it.
So do we actually say something about not duplicating coursework somewhere? If
I
that's
think,
one of the
That's what Al's,
criteria?
I think that's what Al is trying to include in our language
Yeah.
somewhere. Is that correct,
Yeah.
Al?
Right. Yes, exactly. How,
It's-
and included in language that when two different individuals are reviewing it, they're consistent in their review.
Mm-hmm.
but Al, there's some, as John points out, it's a few cases that we're talking about. And to try to cover every eventuality in
Right.
this guideline, it's extremely difficult. So I think the terms acceptable to the board opens it up for discussion amongst the board members to determine if it is deemed acceptable or not.
It
And
also
I
opens
agree
it up
with
to
what Bob said.
to dispute from an applicant.
I will
Don't
give you an
find it. So
example.
If we could tighten it up in any way, that only
It's-
helps your case in the future.
right,
Yes.
it does. The tighter it is, the better, but the tighter it is, the more restricted we get, and we have to say no to a potentially qualified applicant.
Okay.
Right.
I would like to add, there are cases we get where the person has a science degree, decides they want to get a master's in structural engineering, say, and intentionally goes back and takes a series of undergraduate courses first before proceeding on to the master's. We have those cases come up quite, not frequently, but on occasion. And so that's the person who gets the 48 credits, and they're acceptable 48 credits because they've gone back and taken some of the undergraduate courses first and then proceeded to the master's. The case I mentioned just a little bit ago was the case where they got the master's and now are going back and just duplicating courses at the undergraduate level. So that's why I think we have to go with what Bob says, acceptable, because otherwise we get into trouble how we evaluate it. And we really have to look at these things, these particular applicants carefully.
Okay, so you're concentrating on the science, the 48 board approved engineering credit hours.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so John, can you take a crack on that to include what you're saying, your language on that?
I thought by just saying acceptable to approved by NCEES and
Okay.
acceptable to the board. That's not acceptable to you, Al?
No, again, I'm looking for consistency. I'm looking for everybody to
I-
weigh in on it, what everybody feels comfortable with going forward.
I would only feel comfortable with a careful evaluation, and I don't know how to put all that into words.
Right, because it'd be difficult to pick out the course that we would say wasn't appropriate for whatever degree they were looking. There's going to be a master's degree in environmental engineering. There's going to be a master's degree in structural. There's going to be a master's degree in electrical engineering, whatever. We can't possibly anticipate that until we see the curriculum. And I added your one sentence, your one phrase to that fourth paragraph in your summary, deemed equivalent to an A-BET accredited undergraduate program by NCAA's Credential Services, acceptable to the board, and has 6 years experience. And acceptable to the board. So it's two ands. You get the evaluation, it's got to be acceptable to us, and he has to have 6 years experience. In Rob's summary on the same issue, he said, a graduate of bachelor's degree science curriculum from A-BET accredited educational institution with a science degree and a master's or more advanced degree in engineering. It's already covered in class 2D in our regulations. Those situations require an evaluation or equivalency by NCAAS, and an evaluation of the master's program as equivalent to A-BET. He doesn't add that sentence about equivalent to the, satisfactory to the board. His science degree comment was that the science degree has to be deemed appropriate by the board with concentration in the master's and also to evaluate work. So probably have to rework his a little bit to include that, but otherwise leaving it up to the board for some discretion, I think at this point is appropriate. We have to move forward from where we were.
The other example is getting a master's and then a PhD, which involves more coursework. And that may give you 48 credits, the master's and the PhD. But I'd want to evaluate the courses and see if the total package of the master's plus the PhD courses come anywhere near equivalent to an undergraduate four-year degree. I'd still want that option to be able to evaluate that program and not just accept it.
See, John, you know more about what the doctorate program would entail, right? So it's not, you would think, or I would think, from my standpoint, that the doctorate is more of an intense study in that particular field.
But it also
structure.
does include more coursework at the graduate level. So you would have more graduate courses in the area. And it could well come to 48. I'm trying to think of what I took. I think I probably had 48 credits beyond the undergraduate degree of engineering coursework by the time I got the PhD. But I would want to evaluate those courses. Because a lot of courses in a PhD, as you say, are specialized. And there may well be a lot of science in environmental PhD. You might have a lot of science courses.
A good example might be what Rob Lewandowski said last meeting when I asked him, what was your graduate program? He goes, well, I went for construction management. So you would say, a science degree and a master's in construction management of an engineering, program would not be appropriate, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you would not be inclined in that case to approve the reciprocity if it was only a management program, right? Construction management, because there's necessarily no design in there.
No design work.
Right. So that may be a good example in response to what, Al is concerned about. Is you have to be able to evaluate some of the courses in the master's program, and that might, something like that. Rob has a Purdue undergraduate degree in engineering. Fine. Now he goes on to get a master's. So, but the guy who took a physics course and then went on to construction management with a master's degree in engineering, that's not what we were looking for. Is that too simple?
Yes.
but it could be, you see? Well, it's the same, it goes back to the environmental engineering. You know, it may be that a chemistry degree is very appropriate for an environmental master's. But are we able to anticipate all those courses that may be in that environmental engineering master's program? We'd have to see what it entails. Well, for me, the thrust has been to find a way to include experience, and I think that we're very, very close on that. I have to rework the fourth paragraph on Rob's, or ask Rob to do that, you know, based on what John has asked to do in his, which is to make sure that we have some kind of flexibility for the board to evaluate that master's program if there appears to be some makeup of undergraduate courses.
I think the change is we are now willing to look at a science degree plus 48 credits of engineering as a potential way to get a reciprocity or to get accepted as a registered professional engineer in Connecticut. We're willing to look at that now, but we really do need some flexibility because I think there are too many options.
Right.
So
I would,
John, with the language there, a minimum of 48 board acceptable and approved engineering hours or
That works.
engineering credits.
I think that
Mhm.
works.
Yeah.
say it again, Al.
I said acceptable and approved engineering credits, board acceptable and approved engineering credits.
That says it, there have to be credits acceptable to the board, and that says it.
48 board acceptable and approved engineering credits.
Maybe a minimum.
Minimum 48 board.
Could it be a minimum of 48 credits acceptable to the board?
Could be just acceptable. I put approved in there just to keep the language in there, but could be acceptable. Minimum 48 board acceptable.
Did I just change the
Engineering
order of the words?
credits.
Can you say minimum 48 credits acceptable to the board and approved, acceptable and approved engineering credits? Okay, minimum 48 credits.
Something. And of course, 6 years of experience following the degree. Now, again, Rob had certain classes he brought up there. Do classes belong in here or they don't belong?
The classes that he lists in 2 and 3, those are already in our regulations. He's just saying those are different classes that we have right now.
Okay,
And confirming the years of experience. Okay,
okay. Now, changing the subject a little. Going back to the first one, a graduate of a 4-year engineering curriculum, the non-ABET accredited, 6 years of experience following the degree. What happens if he has a master's degree? Do you drop that 6 years of experience down to a lower level?
we've always given the 1-year experience for the masters. So in theory, he would work 5.
Well,
and
with
get
the ABET accredited, you give him 2 years. It's 4 years of experience following the degree, 2 years of experience with a master's degree. So
No,
you have two years.
it's 3 years with the master's, it's 2 years with a PhD.
experience. We're talking experience right now. You
A
have
master's,
Yes, yes.
a master's gives you 1 year of experience credit and a PhD gives you 2.
But are they only getting the 1 year for the masters if they go full time, not while they're working?
No, if they did
No.
it, if they're working for 3 years and getting a master's during that 3 years, that's adequate. So some students will graduate from UConn with a bachelor's and they'll do the master's part-time over the next 3 years. So if they only need 3 years of experience then, if they've got the master's completed,
So
even
it
though
was,
they've done it part-time.
so was my understanding that you could only get credit for the masters if you were going to school full time and not working? Because
No.
otherwise you're getting credit for both,
No,
working and.
I would say that that's just not fair, logical, or anything else. I take I'm working constantly. I'm taking education courses at night. I get the credit when I finish the graduate program. You can't penalize somebody for not going full time. That doesn't make any sense. You know, when you're studying a course and you're working at the same time, you can apply it while you're working.
Doesn't the statute or the reg say in residence though? For the
No,
masters?
No.
no. We've always given them a year less. They can go by with 3 years experience with the master's. And whether they've done it part-time or full-time.
It still adds up to after the undergraduate degree, Jane, you know.
Okay, so John, what you came up with was the 4-year engineering curriculum, ABET accredited, 4 years of experience following a degree, 3 years of experience with a master's, 2 years with a PhD. So it's non-ABET approved, 6 years of experience following the degree, how many years with the master's and how many years with the PhD for the non-ABET approved, ABET approved.
The model law gives you a year for a master's and 2 years for a PhD. So I guess we'd have to include that in.
So
'Cause that's the model law we work
it'd be
with.
5 years and then 4 years.
Right.
Okay. All right. Switch to another one. A graduate with a 4-year foreign degree. What if it's 6 to 10 years of experience? That's kind of broad. 6 to
No.
10.
I think a graduate with of a foreign program with a ABET equivalent degree should only have to have 4 years here, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know how have we discussed that?
Well, you left it totally open. All the language I got between you and Rob on that was a graduate with a 4-year degree, 6 to 10 years of experience following the degree, no mention about the master's degree, no mention about a PhD.
Okay, but that Al, would probably be a separate paragraph that a credit of 1 year experience, you know, would be given in all categories and 2 years for the doctorate, you know, in all categories.
Okay. But here's the question still is there a difference between ABET approved and not approved for a foreign degree?
No, I don't think they're, if you have a foreign degree that's been deemed equivalent, then you need 4 years experience after the degree without a master's. You have a master's, you only need 3 years experience. You have a doctorate, you only need 2 years experience. But that extra paragraph would cover that.
Yeah,
for
see, I
both.
think that's the way we've been doing it.
Yeah,
If you've got a master's, you get a year of a credit, and if you've got a PhD, you get 2.
but
The
if,
foreign, if the foreign degree is evaluated as not equivalent, doesn't that stop the interview?
Stopped it in the tracks.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So in other words, it needs, what's the approval on that?
A non-ABET equivalent foreign degree. Is that your question?
Okay. Yeah,
Do we agree on that? A non-equivalent evaluation is the end of the discussion.
Yes. Yes, that makes sense.
okay. Non-ABIT approved, is that the language you used? In other words, they're evaluating the foreign degree and they say it's equivalent. Oh, it's ABIT equivalent was what it is then.
So yeah, I took a little issue with Rob's last paragraph on the first page. He says, an applicant who graduated from a program deemed not equivalent to an ABET accredited program. He's saying any program, right? In the USA would be evaluated under class 2. So
Not to complicate things, but when ABET says it's not equivalent, it may be because they're missing 2 credits of general education. And we've always
Yeah.
accepted that. So we have to be very careful how we word it because
Right.
Well, that's why
ABET, I mean,
This
the
is what I'm
evaluations-
getting at, John, this is what I'm getting at. Between you and Rob, all I gleaned out of that was arbitrary, I'll call it arbitrary language. All I got was 6 to 10 years of experience following the degree, nothing about a master's, nothing else mentioned. So someone needs to expand that out, to,
or can we have a separate paragraph that says a master's degree in engineering gives you 1 year of credit for experience and a PhD gives you 2 years of it, which is what the model law says.
okay.
at the end of Rob's, it says in all cases, the board shall determine the work experience is agree. And then next sentence, work credit of 1 year of work experience would be whatever, allocated for a master's. I have to work on the words, but you just have 2 more sentences to cover that.
Okay, but to start off with, this is a foreign degree. It's deemed to be equivalent. Somebody deems it to be equivalent. Once they do that, it falls into the same categories as number 1.
Yes, sir.
Right.
I would agree with that.
I would
Okay.
agree too.
All right, so
Yes.
can someone give me some language for that? And I'll
Well, I
write it
think
up.
On number 3, on Rob's summary, it just says credential services. An applicant who graduated from a program deemed equivalent to an accredited USA program, blah, 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 should be evaluated in class 1. It's stated right
Okay.
there.
Okay. All right.
And the NCAA's evaluation of all program, NCAAS evaluates all programs against the NCAAS education standard. You got one extra word in there, I think, but NCAAS evaluates all programs against the NCAAS engineering education standard, which is 48 credits of engineering. Okay. An applicant who graduated from a program deemed not equivalent would be evaluated under class 2. So class 2, we have all these different engineering curriculum. I don't know if it goes to class 2. Class 2 says a non-graduate. That's under class 1A. I think
Okay.
that last paragraph on the front
But you
page.
originally said that with a foreign degree, if they
Yep.
prove it as equivalent, everything under number 1 applies.
Yes.
I think
Correct.
yes, I agree with that. If it's
Okay.
equivalent, it's
So-
equivalent. Look at it under class
So
1.
what I'm suggesting is let me draft it up to that with the changes we're talking about. I'll draft something up. I'll make the changes to what you saw of mine and then kick it on out. Then John, you can do what you need to do with it and kick it around and
Okay.
see where it's at again. It won't take long to do it,
Okay.
I won't do it today. I'll guarantee that because I've got some outside work I got to do here, but it won't take long to do.
All right.
I have one question. We had said when we get a foreign degree evaluated and it's non-equivalent, and let's say it's non-equivalent with some engineering courses, can we referred to that as a non-starter. Can they make up those engineering courses with in a master's program, a US master's program?
We've already discussed that, I believe, and the answer is yes, they can make
Okay.
some of those courses up, because that's where the
Okay.
board gets to
Yes.
look at that and say,
Yes.
you did the right thing.
Yep.
I keep going back
He,
to
he
one a
he
couple of
goes in,
years
he does
ago.
his master's program and he's looking for other courses for credits. He's got to find them somewhere. They may be the undergraduate area where he does it, but he's not repeating courses or
Not
or
repeating.
blending courses together, but you review that to make the decision.
Acceptable
Correct.
to the board.
Acceptable
That's
to the
why,
Okay.
board.
yeah, that's why we have to look at each case separately. We cannot, I don't think there's any way you
Right.
could write that up to be absolutely certain that it works or doesn't.
Right. You don't want to have someone take 2 or 3 courses similar in undergrad, then take them in
Right.
the graduate course and take them as a gut course just to get the credits.
Exactly.
Correct.
I think a good example, I keep coming back in my approach to it, is I take a physics degree. I think that is an example in my mind works well with structures for whatever reason. But when I take my master's program, I probably could have used a little more soils. Maybe they're not in the master's program because it was concentrating so much on this particular aspect of structures. So going back and taking that course, I would say that was a good mix, a good match.
Mhm.
But that's why the board can look at it.
Yep.
If you're in the structures program and you take a chemistry course, that doesn't make sense. All right, Alf, you will take another shot at it, add a few more
I'll take
sentences,
cutout. There's not going to be much changes to it, but
Right.
that's what I said. I'll add
couple
this
more
to it
paragraphs.
and expand it on out and give everybody a shot at it and see what you
Okay,
come up with.
thank
Okay?
you.
We're making
Appreciate it.
progress.
Yep.
Yes, I
Okay,
think it's
guys.
great.
All right, well, it's still in your court then, Al. What's your next sentence?
Okay.
You're gonna make a motion to adjourn?
Yes, motion to adjourn. Sorry.
Second.
Thanks, Al.
I'm already triggered. I got a machine running outside, so
Oh,
my mind's
geez.
gone here.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay.
thank,
Take
All
care.
right, thanks,
care.
everyone.
Yep.
Have a good Memorial Day.
Bye.
Bye.